Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host with the most, Avery LR32 here, and I am back from my vacation. It felt good to be able to, get out of town for a little bit, relax with the family for Christmas, and hopefully y'all had a great Christmas. And it's almost New Year's, so Happy New Year. I'm going to have a commentary, hopefully either later today or tomorrow, talking about my 2013 and what it was for me. A lot of ups and downs. Not going to be talking about my whole entire 2013 of my life. But just, talk about some things, because I've been just thinking about a lot of stuff lately. But anyways, I'm giving you guys a deck profile, and well, I shouldn't say I call this, but I found it from an article on TCG Player called Ruining the World, and it doesn't revolve around Arcana Force XX1 the World. I don't remember the actual numerical number, so bear with me. I'm just going to call it XX1 until I can figure it out. I'm too lazy to call it whatever it is. But it doesn't revolve around this, but it's a really, really neat concept that I thought was super interesting because Arcana Force monsters, as you know, you end up having to toss a coin, and then their effect is based upon that result. And really, the only Arcana Force monsters that some people would use, which was only really used in stall decks, was Arcana Force Zero, the Fool, which was basically a Spirit Reaper, which no one uses anymore because of Papillo Operative and Gaia Dragon, Thunder Charger, and cards like that. But I want to go through this deck profile. It's basically, I guess you'd call it the Froggy World, I guess, since, it runs the world and all that stuff. But first, I'm going to read off Arcana Force the World so that you guys know what it does to get a better understanding and grasp of this deck. So when he's summoned, you toss a coin just like all the other Arcana Force monsters. If it's heads, during your end phase, you can send 2 monsters you control to the graveyard to skip your opponent's next turn. And if you flip a tails, then during your opponent's draw phase, add the top card of their graveyard to their hand, which Light Barrier also comes into play. But I'll go through the deck, then once we get to Light Barrier, I'll talk about that. So you run 3 of the World, your MVP, 2 Battle Fader, and then your Frog Engine, you run 3 Dupe Frog, 3 Swap Frog, 2 Poison Draw Frog, a Treeborn Frog, and 2 Rodentones. And then to help out the Frog Engine, you run Triple Sea Lancer. And then, since you're running all these waters, we also run a Title. Then we got 2 Lad, 3 Tour Guide, and a Tour Bus. This is for the January 2014 format, as you can clearly see. The reason why you're using the Frog Engine is because, for starters, Sea Lancer can become a 2700 beat stick if once you get a bunch of these frogs in the grave, you can just equip him to Sea Lancer to protect him from being destroyed. And with Gachi, he can get up to possibly 2700. Title helps out, of course, because they're all water, and the fact that you're running the Frog Engine more specifically is because to get to Lad easier and to get to the World easier, because they both require 2 sacrifices, which is very easy to do in Frogs. And then same thing with Tour Guide. You can just go Tour Guide into Tour Bus, and in case you don't remember what Tour Bus does, it's when it's sent to the graveyard, you target a monster in either player's graveyard except Tour Bus and shuffle that target into the deck. So if you have, let's say, a Battle Fader somehow that got in your grave, or if you need to get a World back into your deck for some reason, you can use Tour Bus effect to get that back into your deck. You can also get a Sea Lancer back into your deck if you really need to, a Lad back in your deck if you really need to, even a Tour Guide if you really need it. And then on to the spells. We have 3 enemy controller, it's Frogs, 2 creature swap, it's Frogs, 2 MSTs, 2 salvage, 2 soul exchange because it's Frogs, and then terraforming for the Light Barrier. And Light Barrier, it's a field spell, and what it does is, during your standby phase, you toss a coin. If the result is tails, the following effects are negated until your next standby phase. When you summon an Arcana Force monster, choose which effect to apply without tossing a coin. If an Arcana Force monster destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you gain life points equal to the destroyed monster's original attack. So, here's basically what the gist of the deck is, what it's meant to do. You go terraforming and you get a Light Barrier. Like, let's say you don't open it. You play the Light Barrier, and you end up dropping the World like a turn or 2 later. With Light Barrier, you toss a coin, and if it lands on tails, then you automatically get to choose which effect you want to use with the World, which is obviously going to be heads. During your end phase, you can send 2 monsters you control to the graveyard to skip your opponent's next turn. Well, since you keep on dropping 2 monsters very easily with the Frog Engine, that means that you basically have a continuous engine of tribute fodder for the World's effect to send 2 monsters to the graveyard to make your opponent skip their next turn. So essentially, you're making your opponent not even have a turn. It's almost kind of like Yada Lock, how you just completely lock your opponent out of drawing and they basically wouldn't even have a turn anymore. Yeah, and keep in mind he's also 3100 attack and defense, which is amazingly huge, which is super good. And then with Gotchi, if you have like 3 Gotchis on board, that's a total of 4, 6. That's like 1,000 extra attack points, so he becomes 4,100. So, yeah, really, really nutty. Obviously, that's not going to happen every time, but you essentially have 2 chances. You know, if Light Barrier lands on heads, then you just, or I'm sorry, the world only works whenever he's summoned. So, Light Barrier's effect, boom, standby phase, and then you would just rely on Light Barrier. Um, so it's a really, really interesting concept. I've always wanted to see the Arcana Force monsters used competitively, and it's really, really cool to see that this guy on TCG Player thought of this. And I haven't tested it out yet, but it looks like so much fun. Like, as soon as I saw the article, I had to build this and talk about it. But for the extra deck, you run 1 Armor Kappa. Once per turn, you can detach Exceed material from this card. This card gains 1,000 attack or defense during either player's battle step. When an attack involving your monster is occurring, you can discard 1 card for the rest of this turn. Monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle. Also, you take no battle damage. You can only use this effect to Armor Kappa once per turn. It's 2 level 2s. You run a bunch of level 2s. It works. 2 Daigusto Phoenix, 3 Gotchi, 2 Herald of Pure Light. In case you don't know its effect, well, I should have said that for Armored Kappa, but oh well. I'm rusty from not making videos in a while, you guys. I'm sorry. 2 level 2 monsters for Herald of Pure Light. You can detach Exceed material from this card, then target a monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand, then shuffle 1 card from your hand into the deck. You can only use the effect of Herald of Pure Light once per turn. So it's just another way to recycle your cards from the graveyard. Then we have 1 Leviair, 1 Dracosac, 1 Acid Golem, 2 Dark Mist, Slacker Magician, and a Zenmaines. A really neat play that you can do with this deck is go for, I know you mentioned it in the article, but it's like you end up dropping like pitch a frog for Swap Frog. Use that to send a Rodent Totem. You can banish the Swap Frog for a Rodent Totem, and then there's like I can't remember exactly what the play is. Oh, because you end up going into Tour Guide as well. So you have Swap Frog and Rodent Totem on board. Then you go Tour Guide in the Tour Guide or Tour Bus, whichever you prefer, or whichever you need at the time. And then you Exceed into Leviair, and then you overlay with the Rodent Totem and the Swap Frog into a Daigusto Phoenix. You detach to target him. So now you're sitting with a Leviair and a Daigusto Phoenix on the board. Then you can detach from the Leviair to get the Swap Frog to your side of the field. Swap Frog's effect sends the other Rodent Totem. Then you can use Rodent Totem's effect again to banish another frog that you would just detach, bring it out, overlay again into another Daigusto Phoenix, detach from it, target itself, so you're able to attack twice with both Daigusto Phoenixes, so that's 6,000 points of damage, plus 1,800 from a Leviair. And then if you have any other way to special summon any other frogs or special summon anything else, yeah, that's pretty much an OTK right there. So a really, really nice play, especially opening move if your opponent doesn't like have a big back row or they just end up leaving their field open because they drew bad or something. It's a really, really cheap way to take a game from them. But anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, a like or favorite would be appreciated. And thank you for over 300 subscribers. I am going to be talking about that probably in my upcoming commentary. And it's going to expected to be a long commentary because I'm going to be talking about 2013, some stuff I've been thinking about, stuff about the channel, reaching 300 subscribers. I mean, that's already 4 things right there. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, like I said, like or favorite would be great. Please subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you for over 300 subscribers, and stay tuned for my other videos. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.